Why, hello there. It's me, Jeremy, your favorite bald dude telling you about Standard and Strange, a store and a brand with simple rules. Sell clothes they themselves would wear, manufacture it ethically, and build it to last. From boots made in Oregon to loop wheel garments made in Japan, find all the best clothes for your wardrobe at Standard and Strange. StandardandStrange.com. Hey folks, it's Blammo. This is my podcast. I'm Jeremy Kirkland. How you doing? You know who I am. I know who you are. I hope we do. Whatever. Winds of change. The winds of change, folks. I'm really leaning into this. I've been doing my Jeremy is getting into shape routines lately, and I'm really trying to get it going. I'm running. I'm hitting the gym. I'm also going after my daughter's Easter candy. But the other day, I was running, and it was so beautiful. Like, people's lawns were all nice, you know, because we're in that mid-April where people are caring a little bit. No one's given up yet. And there were flowers everywhere, and the birds were singing, and I'm running down, and I'm listening to, like, freaking Matthew Sweet or something nuts. It's like Sick of Myself. This is, like, classic 90s bangers. And I felt like I was in this utopian paradise. And, like, I'm running to the rhythm, and I can smell the honeysuckle, but I'll tell you, winds of change. 12 hours later, I'm waiting out tornadoes with my family. I wake up to leaves and crap everywhere. I'm checking for hail damage. You know, I don't get it. I mean, well, it's weather. I mean, I get that. Or climate change, I don't know, but it all sucks. And I'm really trying to lean into this, the nice days when they hit. You know, I'm just like, hey, remember a little bit ago, you were running, you were feeling good. You were getting a nice mile time. It was great, but I don't know, man. Like, call me Kid A, the way I'm getting optimistic here. Okay? Kareem Rahma. He's that dude, that guy. You see him everywhere. He's a comedian. He's a podcaster. He's a writer. He's an actor. He does all the things. But Kareem, I mean, he's taken the internet and the entertainment world by storm with, I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't, there's a link in the show notes. You check it out. It's called Keep the Meter Running. It's this hilarious show that profiles taxi drivers. Vanity Fair, the big VF, no relation to Vans, but they called it one of TikTok's best new series. And he's got this other show called Subway Takes, which is this other sort of talk show he does on TikTok. It's hilarious. You probably know him from like the New York Nico crew. I mean, he's also doing live music shows. The guy does everything. It's quite a bit. But Kareem, you know, he doesn't know how to stop. His motto is keep going, and he certainly is. So Kareem and I discussed the origins of Keep the Meter Running, searching for connections to his family, his upcoming feature film, making music, leaning into yourself, American movie, and touching the stove. You know what I'm talking about. You will when you hear it. Let's dive in. It's Blammo. Here we go.
I just feel like such a failure because I should have all of this equipment working properly, considering that I'm a media magnet.
You are.
What can you do?
There's a lot of urban legends. Like one of the biggest things that I'm the most excited to talk with you about is who you are, because to a lot of different people, you're a lot of different things. Are you a TV host? Are you a podcaster? Are you a comedian? Are you an actor? I mean, because you're doing it all. You're ticking every box in this new media landscape.
That's what the mystery is.
Yeah, I guess.
There's gotta be mystery.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good insight. I don't have much.
So I don't know if you'll ever find out. I don't know if you'll find out on this podcast.
No, hell no.
How's the audio coming through for you?
Audio sounds fantastic.
There's no lag?
Zero lag.
Great. There's lag in mine, but I can deal with it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you suffering for the sake of content, which I'm sure wasn't the first time you've had to do that. Have you ever been in any other situation where you were making some banger media and you just had to, you know, grin and bear it with lackluster connections?
Look, I suffer for the content every single day of my life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So what is the content? Because the biggest thing that I mean, look, here, I'll kind of take a step back because we have been in various overlapping vicinities, you know, we got a few mutual friends from people like Bryn Wallner and I don't know. Did you go on TF? Did you go on Throwing Fits too once?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. So, I mean, we're in overlapping worlds. And I'm surprised we never met until now. But it is a joy and a pleasure to meet you. That being said, I really, really, really fell in love with all your stuff on the TikTok show.
Keep the meter running.
Keep the meter running it's incredible. It's phenomenal.
Wait.
And I think what?
I have to interrupt you for 1 second.
Go for it.
I'm just gonna try something.
For folks who are unaware, we have had absurd tech issues.
Okay, look at this. Wow. Hold on.
Are you in?
Even
Are you
better.
in?
Let's start the whole fucking thing all over again. Hold on 1 second.
Oh my God, here he goes. He's doing this.
Bang. Kareem Rahma. Live. No lag. Perfect sound.
No lag, Kareem.
Kings of the world. I feel fucking on fire now. Holy shit.
I'm just glad that you had all the gear because for folks who didn't know, we spent maybe a good 25 minutes going back and forth, testing little things, trying to figure out mic noise and static and barometric pressure. Isaac Newton was resurrected from the dead. He started explaining to us theories of science and gravity of, next thing you know, we were talking about isotopes. I mean, it got gnarly.
And now I'm holding a microphone like I'm at a stand-up comedy show, recording a podcast, and honestly, feels pretty good. One time I was on a podcast I was on just a Zoom with Judah Freelander, and he was standing up with like a stand-up microphone doing the Zoom. He did it standing up, holding a mic like this, like he was doing stand-up comedy. And I was like, that's so tight. Like this man is on Zooms all day, but he's like, he's getting practice. He's getting reps in. He's writing jokes. God. He's improvising. Like it was like he was recording a stand-up set, but he was on a Zoom. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm like holding the mic in my hands. It's not a Blue Yeti. It's just like a little mic. And oh my God, you guys, Blammo listeners, I am apologizing for the earlier part of this interview. I was hearing my own voice in my head as I was talking. There was an echo. And so I was a little self-conscious about what I was saying because I didn't understand what was happening. But as you can tell, look at me now. I'm fast. I'm on fire. I'm banging. I'm going.
It's true.
I'm zooming.
You look good.
Zooted.
You feel good.
I feel happy. I feel really happy. So let's get back into it. I'm sorry.
Sorry it's to interrupt
you. I'm so glad. I read this thing and it was like, I saw an Instagram video and it was like, sometimes you just have to ask for another take as an actor. You just have to say, can we do that one more time? And do you see what I just did to you? I said, can I just try one more thing?
Oh,
and now
you did it and you fixed it.
It's perfect.
So I take it you're a big fan of like Dustin Hoffman, or was that someone else?
I don't know. It was like a Vanity Fair video about like some acting coach that was like, you got to say, can we do that one more time? If you don't feel confident, you got to say, can we do that one more time? And you can't feel embarrassed about wanting to do it one more time.
So in the movie Hook, which is everybody's secret favorite or public favorite, who knows? Steven Spielberg's Hook, Dustin Hoffman is Captain Hook. And there was quite a bit of issues because Dustin Hoffman's a perfectionist. He was working with the great Bob Hoskins, who was playing Smee, and
Smee!
And D Hoff kept saying, we need to go again. We need to do another time. And even Spielberg was like, homie, like, you're good. We got this.
Sometimes if you don't feel it, you got to do it again. I mean, that's the thing. You got to feel it, right? Yeah. Like everyone else can feel it, but if you don't feel it, you got to do it again until you feel it. It could be one take, but if you feel it in that one take, boom, off to the next take. But if you don't feel it, you can't move on. At least for me, because I would literally be haunted for the rest of the day. Being like, I really should have just tried one more thing. And that's like, you just have to keep trying. I'm not trying to make this a motivational speech right now, but I do think it's like people give up too easily these days.
Okay. Let's unpack that. What do you mean?
I just think people give up. Like the minute something gets hard or like there's no instant gratification, people just go, I'm going to put this down for a while. Like instead of like going through the pain and torture of failing as many times as possible. And I mean, I think it would be great to like succeed immediately. Obviously, it's the easier path, but I just know a lot of my peers that are just like, it was really hard, so I stopped doing it.
Are you pulling from some other memories here?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were like, oh, this was the time I bombed on a set and I did a stand-up thing and I was like, listen, buddy.
No, it's my whole life. My whole life is one giant failure.
Whoa, easy. Pump the brakes here.
No, it's finally manifested into a small little slice of success, but it's like the failures, the L's keep coming. Like the L's, I had this like I would be like, man, I got a small L today, or a big L, or a small W, or a big W. And it was like I was tracking how many L's and W's I would get, and the L's far outnumbered the W's. And for a long time, my man, we were in a W drought.
Oh,
There was no W's, not small ones, not big ones. The W would be not getting hit by a car.
okay.
That's
Okay.
like a W for the day. That was probably 2 years of my life. Maybe
Two
even 3.
years. Wait, what
Yeah.
years were this? Was this pandemic years? Because none of that stuff counts.
This was no, it was pre-pandemic. It was like 2018, 2019. Actually, the pandemic is when I started getting some W's.
Oh, okay. Is this
Yeah.
the Drew Barrymore stuff?
I think that was that during the pandemic? I don't remember, dude.
I don't know.
The time warp of the pandemic is very difficult for me.
Yeah. Because you were in New York the entire time. I pieced out. I lived in New York for like 16 some odd years. And during the pandemic, I was like, later, I got kids. Game over.
I mean, if I had kids, I would fucking flee the city immediately.
Yeah.
I would have. But no, I was mostly in the city. I spent 2 months in Minneapolis, not by choice, but then by choice. And then I spent 2 months in LA by pure choice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you from
But
Minneapolis?
I am from Minneapolis, and my brother had gotten into a car accident during the pandemic. Lucky me and lucky him. And it was a bad car accident. And so like on March, the anniversary just passed, like March. It was also I don't remember the dates, but it was also the same week that George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis.
Oh, Lordy.
So like
Okay.
I flew home to be there for my brother and my family. And then George Floyd was murdered and the whole city turned into this resistance movement. And at the same time, I couldn't go to the hospital to visit my brother because of COVID. So I had nothing really to do other than it was like a weird Garden State type of situation.
Oh.
Like a really flawed version of Garden State where I had to go home for something devastating. And then I experienced something transformational. And then I came home and I was a different person.
Whoa.
And so that was the beginning, I think, of a new version. I had an iOS upgrade of myself during that period where I really saw myself, I don't know. It was really crazy, man. I want to write a movie about it someday.
How long have you been in therapy?
For about 10 years. And then I just quit.
Okay, because I was going to say that's some heavy duty clarity you got there. That's some Crystal Pepsi you're drinking. I mean, that's real. That's very clear.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's fantastic. What is your brother okay? Is that
he made a full recovery.
So he's doing good.
He's good. He's good. Good man. Good boy.
There's a weird thing, not to get all heavy, but grief definitely brings people together. That's the reason why I moved back home. I mean, obviously the pandemic, but my dad's on his way out. We don't really know what the situation is. And you're just kind of hanging on. And, we'll be okay. Everything will be fine. But you're shit. But in a weird way, you come back and you're okay, now I'm here as an adult. Now I can do adult things. I'm having a different relationship with peers and parents because I have been through stuff. And in a weird way, you get this almost accidental respect. I don't know if that's the right phrase.
I think it's self-respect.
Sure. Well, yeah. But I'm talking about from others. Self-respect, sure. But that's got to come. I mean, but that's some heavy stuff. And you go back and then you start questioning your existence and all this stuff. And then you find out the only way to get to the end of you is you just this is not a Bill W. speech, but you just keep pressing.
You just keep going.
I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. Wait, so are you back?
No, well, I'm back once a month.
Okay. So you stayed gone. Where'd you go?
I'm in St. Louis, Missouri.
How many kids do you have?
2 now. I have a 9-month-old today and a 5-year-old.
You had a baby today?
Well, I was given a 9-month-old on my doorstep.
Wow, dude, congratulations.
Yeah, my son just turned 9 months today. Which is
technically when babies are born, they're 9 months old.
Oh shit. Okay. I stand corrected. So he's 9 months outdoors, 18 months alive.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But that being said, I got to rethink my birthday, man. Because me and Christian Slater, that was my icebreaker. If I saw Christian Slater or Robert Redford, I'd say, "What's up, man? We have the same birthday." And if I got to start measuring things from when I was in utero, this is over. I have no idea what I'm supposed to say to Robert Redford now. I think sunglasses.
I think after a year, after a baby is a year old, it resets. So then they become one.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. All right.
Fuzzy mouth.
Yeah,
I haven't fully developed this idea yet.
Okay. Okay.
There's something there. There's something there for us to explore.
So you come back and you take the world by storm. I mean, you're in a movie. But the biggest thing, and this is what we were talking about before you had the epiphany,
Before I interrupted you.
was No, was Keep the Meter Running, which is like, it's a really, I'm going to zoom way out here because I am a fan of travel shows. During the pandemic, I got really, really, really into Egyptology and the History Channel. And I went as far as paying $50 to join a Zoom with Chris Naughton, talking about we got way into it, talking about the Valley of Kings, talking about all this stuff. I mean, I was locked and loaded, and I was like, I want to fucking host a travel show. I want to get into it. And then I got into Grand Designs, Kevin McLeod, and I was like, man, we need some good stuff out in New York. Bourdain is gone, RIP. And then here comes Kareem showing the salt of the earth. Walk me through this.
Yeah, the Bourdain comparison, it always gets me because it's like, I think the best compliment a person could receive ever, especially anyone in entertainment. So yeah, it's always like, it takes me a moment to be like, how do I get around this? But yeah, I mean, it was like one of those things where I had the idea sitting in my back pocket for so many years. And the timing was right. I was approached by Adam Faze, who you may have heard of at this point. He's kind of like a New York. Well, he's an LA boy and now in New York, but has become a very New York boy. And he was like, hey, I'm starting this slate of TikTok TV shows for this company, Mad Realities. And I was like, that's a really interesting idea. And he's like, do you have any ideas you want to pitch? And the first one I pitched was Keep the Meter Running. And the idea was already fully developed. Like I had already written down, like the title was Keep the Meter Running. The idea was like jump into a cab and ask them to take me wherever they want to go. And, it's funny because I was really hesitant on doing it. I almost said no at the last minute. I was just like, do I really fucking want to do another internet thing and like just do another Instagram thing, do another TikTok, like get me out of this thing. Like I want to be on TV. I want to be in movies. And fortunately I did it and the show just became a massive hit. And I think it was just the right place, the right time, the right people, the right idea, the right format, the right platform. I mean, there's all of the luck that is possible and needed for something to be a hit, as well as obviously the work of so many people. And Ari Kagan, who edited and shot the first episode, Sexy Damien, who also shot the first episode, Adam, who produced the series, Mad Realities, who funded the thing. And it was like a lot of people had to believe in the idea to get it started, Mm-hmm. And yeah, now it's taken on a life of its own. And it's both it's my favorite thing I've ever done in my life, and it's the best thing I've ever done in my life, and it's the only thing I want to do. It's like what I think about every single day, all the time, and yeah, I mean, it's great. The reaction from people and press and audience and fans and New Yorkers especially has been so terrific, and it's honestly what keeps me inspired to keep this thing going.
Damn, yeah. I mean, it's the thing that made me the most excited is, I mean, you remember Humans of New York, right? And then there's also the AIDS Memorial, in which, for folks who don't know, Humans of New York was photographer would just take pictures of people in New York, and it would be a very brief explanation about the individual and what they were doing. And then the AIDS Memorial were these wonderful photos of people who are not around anymore, but it was just a brief view into this person's life. And it's a very strong reminder of the humanity of everyone. And I think, especially in the gig economy, for lack of a better term, I think everyone loves cab drivers. It's like the ingrained DNA of New York, but there's very little attention. I mean, it's a stereotype to be called a cab driver in many ways, and it's fucked up. But you really showed the depth, which I loved. I mean, and I think you handle some pretty weird things. Yeah. Where did it come from to have the ability to navigate somewhat awkward situations?
That is like the thing that is just like me, Okay. I don't really have a real answer from that other than kind of just being yourself or being myself, I should say. That's really where any of the honesty or the truth or the sincerity or the authenticity of the show comes out, is me just being myself and reacting honestly and essentially warming up to people as quickly as possible, which is something that I just normally do in real life. But yeah, I don't know. It's it's almost like the simple rule of improv, which is yes and. I don't know if you've ever taken an improv class.
Oh yeah.
But you probably don't even need improv class as long as you know that the only rule is yes and. So essentially, it's like if somebody proposes something, you yes and them. Like, hey, do you want to go to the Bronx? Yes. And we should eat. Where should we eat? We should go to Popeye. Great. Let's go. And I want you to pick the food for me. So it's like, it's just always just keep going, just like constantly seeing what the next thing will bring about. And it's so funny that like, in the first episode of the show, I had no idea what people's favorite places would be. I always thought it was going to be like, or I don't even know if it was favorite place. It was just like, take me to wherever you want to go. And the idea was like, oh, they'll take me suit shopping, or we'll go bowling or play pool. Like that was the original vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first time I just said, take me to your favorite place. And that was a different question, and it was an unexpected question, but it's what came out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's favorite place is a restaurant. So that also was unplanned. That wasn't like the show that I had in mind. It was like more about just doing whatever they want to do. And it just happened to be food. Like that's the thing. So it became a food show. And again, I think that's like comes from a lack of control, right? Like I just let it be what it is and I don't force it to be anything else. And I'm fortunate though, because not only am I getting to eat some of the best food I've ever had in my life, but I feel like when you eat with someone, it just opens the floodgates, right? Like it's just like you become a fast friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so the show is that much better because we have meals together.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think there's a lot of people letting their guard down fast. I mean, you get people giving hot takes you didn't ask for. Yeah, I mean, it's very raw. Is that just great editing, or I mean, is this is what's happening?
No, that's what's happening. I mean, if we had the long cuts, you would see that there's a lot of stuff that is not, that we leave on the cutting room floor that's even better than what we publish, but it just like doesn't make sense for the platforms or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the conversation, like I walk away really learning something in every episode, and really putting a lot of these things into practice, because that's really what the show's about. Like it's really about me trying to figure out how to live in today's world and how to be a man and how to be a good, son in quotation marks, and how to be a good friend and how to just be a good person, right? Like that's what the show is about. Like it's about wisdom seeking and trying to understand myself and what's wrong with me. And cab drivers are like, they almost have this mystical power about them, even if they're white. Or you know what I mean? Like it's not like they have to be like a Sufi Muslim or something to be able to give me this energy. But when you think about how many people they meet and how tough their job is,
Mm-hmm.
and how many hours a day they spend in conversation and the sacrifices that they make, they are these kind of like incredible treasure chests of wisdom. And so that's my goal. That's my personal goal. Like the food is fun, showcasing them is fun, having them have a platform to tell their stories is fun. But at the end of the day, like I'm doing the show because I'm trying to understand how to be a man, like a real one, not like a fucking internet clout boy,
Well, what have you been learning then about yourself? Because I never picked up on that. But I see what you're saying now that you call it out.
Yeah, if you watch it real closely. But nobody wants to see that, like nobody wants to see like, oh, Kareem is learning. Like,
I disagree a little bit.
But I think when people watch it, like I'm just the vessel, right? Like I see a lot of people reacting to what the cab driver is saying in a way that they are absorbing the information in the same way that I absorb it, right? Okay. So I'm just really the vessel. I'm the stand-in for the audience. But yeah, I mean, I'm just learning a lot about patience. I'm learning a lot about love. I'm learning a lot about God, all of them, every single one, whether it's Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or other. And I'm learning kind of like what is important, what is really important in life.
What is?
I'm still learning it.
Okay. If you had to,
I mean,
yeah.
Number one answer would be like family.
Okay.
Like I think, like I feel like my general hierarchy of things that are important to me has been shuffled and is constantly being shuffled based on these conversations.
Attention! Do you even loop wheel, bro? Do you know what loop wheel garments are? Look, I actually didn't, honestly. I was just like, oh, it's a flex, or it's this special kind of cotton. But no. The folks at Standard & Strange dropped a ton of incredible knowledge bombs and their incredible loop wheel tee, made in Japan, of course. Back to loop wheel. It's an antique circular knitting machine that relies on gravity and uses spring-bearded needles. What the heck? Do you even get it? Look, all you need to know is it's dope. It's better if you want to learn more. Visit standardandstrange.com/loopwheel and check out their new loop wheel tees. Your boy is partial to yellow because, duh. But the tees are fire no matter what color. The fit is spot on, and it's a classic tee that looks like it's from every era, to be honest with you, and fits like a dream. And it's from the folks at Standard and Strange, the shop that helps you own fewer, better things, run by industry vets who are focused on incredible product from incredible vendors. And look, if that's not your vibe, check out some of their huge offerings of Japanese denim or boots. But listen, the shirts, fam, the shirts. So, if you want to know more, visit standardandstrange.com. Loop wheel, baby. That's standardandstrange.com. Right, so you go back to Minneapolis. This is obviously before Keep the Meter Running and hits production, I'm assuming. And how much did any of the things that you were going through there affect your desire to do the show now, or not at all?
I don't know. That's a toughie. I can't think that far back. I have a really bad memory.
Well, I mean, did your folks see the show?
Well, I mean, I guess I should mention, my father passed away when I was young.
Oh, okay.
And
sorry for your loss.
No, it's okay. It was a long time ago. And he was a taxi driver for 5 years when he first moved to America. So that is really the overall connection. It's been like a deep-seated issue within me.
Now the family thing makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. To like they are stand-ins for my dad, right? It's like all of the lessons. Like I want I want the discipline. I want someone to discipline me in this way of telling me what's right or wrong. And even though I'm 36 years old and I know what's right or wrong, I don't know it in the way that they know it. And, not having a father to call and just say like, hey, what's your advice on whatever? This is like a really good way to do it. And that is really the connection. Even if you go all the way back, that's what, when I say the show's about being a better man and learning about life and blah, 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 it's because I didn't have the person to tell me those things. And I miss that person every day. And I wish I could get their advice. So figuring out a way to essentially replicate him as many times as possible. It's like a genie. I have like a genie, an unlimited. I have 15,000 cab drivers in New York and then another probably million around the world that I can ask questions. Yeah. The same questions I would ask my dad.
Can I ask how old you were when you lost your father?
I was 20.
You were 20. So you got some good years?
I got some good years, but I didn't get them what I feel are the most important years. Oh, when your dad's an equal.
Dude, we are brothers here. Dead serious. That's been that's why I moved home. But my biggest thing is fuck, I moved home way too late. I beat myself up all the time because I was off in New York as some 18-year-old clown trying to figure out who he was and I missed the opportunity to try to learn more from my dad. And now I have this hindsight of just well, fuck, those years I could have tried to figure out more of who I was with him, but I didn't really get to lean on him that much. I found, I have a bunch of Google accounts like anyone does. And I was getting ready, I was consolidating them and I was getting ready to delete one. And I'm like, oh, this is a junk mail thing because I never use it anymore. And I got ready to delete the account and Google was like, hey, you have a bunch of emails from family members. Do you want to delete this account? And I'm like, well, let me see them. And I found all these emails from my dad to me in 2006, 2007, 2008. And I wept. I lost it. My dad has been suffering from Parkinson's for a very long time, for 28 years or so. He got it in 94. And he was a musician. He was a pastor. He was all these things. And now he kind of sits in a corner and he can understand you, but there's no more talking, And even when I moved back, I was like, oh, I'm going to make this podcast about my dad. And I was recording every interaction I had with him and everything I could because I kept trying to find out. I'm like, fuck, I'm an adult. I have my own kids, but I have no advice from my dad on how to raise kids. And now I'm unpacking all this stuff of man, my dad did some stuff right. Oh no, I think he did a bunch of stuff wrong. Oh, can I call him on it? What does it look like? And so I'm constantly navigating this one-way relationship with him because he is still there, but he's not. And so but it's weird because I'm in the same age now where it's you want this paternal guide.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to have that. And I have other friends and I also don't know how to grieve correctly because I have other friends who lost their dad much younger, or didn't, or the relationship they have with the parent is very hard to unpack because there's abuse, emotional or physical, and I didn't have that. And so I'm like, well, can I boo-hoo? Because I kind of had a relatively good life, and so I don't even really know how to publicly grieve about some of these things because I feel like, well, someone's gonna be like, yeah, but at least you got this. And so I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't feel bad, but I still do.
No, I think everyone's journey is their own. And like, just because somebody had it worse off than you doesn't mean that whatever things you're going through are not warranted. You know what I mean? Like, you are you and you had your life, and that's the only thing that you can compare it to. You can't compare it to anyone else. And if you feel sad, you should feel sad. And if you feel like you didn't get enough, you didn't get enough. And there's no one that can say that you can't feel that way, right? And
yeah, that's fair.
It is but it is like a real thing. And I'm glad, selfishly, that you can empathize with that feeling of missing out on something or being too late to the party, right? Because that was the same thing for me. Like, I went to college and I was 18, and then my dad got cancer when I was 19. And then I was like, I'm staying on campus. Like, I'm not going to let this affect my college years. And then he died, and I stayed on campus. I never moved home. And it was this selfish act of doing what's best for me, because I knew that if I got too into the sadness, that I probably would not finish college, and that, my life would take a different path. And I was like, it's better to essentially ignore what's happening and accept it as quickly as possible and grieve in a way that is definitely unhealthy, but at the time felt like necessary, right? And for me, it was like, I have to finish school. I have to like continue my life. I have to be happy, and I'm not gonna like let this stop me. And it wasn't like I'm like, ooh, I'm not like a superhero or anything. I didn't do it like because I was like so courageous, like, yay, like it's not a pep talk. It's just like my dad definitely wouldn't want me to have dropped out of college, and that's really what was on my mind. That was my fear, is that like, this is enough of a loss that if I don't keep going, I will probably stop. And I think a lot of that still impacts my life, especially because some of his only advice that I remember is literally the simplest advice, which is just keep going. Like, he said that to me a lot. And that's like something that I write down sometimes. I just write, keep going, for no reason. Like, on paper or in my notes app, or like when I'm, doing whatever. And it's just like a reminder that is one of the pieces of advice that has stuck with me this whole time.
Would you say you finished college for you or for him?
I would say more for him than me.
So then it sounds like in a lot of ways you grieved your own way, but you honored him and your own grief.
Yeah. For sure. And that is the thing. That is like, another thing is like regret, right? Like, I'm always trying to deal with regret in this way that you want to make up for it and you want to move on at the same time. And it's like, how do you do that? How do you manage both of those things at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, that's the eternal struggle of life, I guess. I wrestle with that every day, in the sense that, especially having kids, where most parents raise their children in a generational whiplash, right? Like, they had their way of operating, and maybe ways that they felt were wronged. Like, my dad was raised super, super, super conservative, into which he was like sneaking records, but the records were like Simon and Garfunkel, right? I mean, this is, and he was a musician and loved music and played a ton of music, and music was very much a part of my life. And with my kids, I'm trying to show them music, and I'm playing music, and I'm playing guitar, and I'm singing, and I'm showing them stuff and whatever. And they don't care. And I was like, you know what? Fuck, I was like this with my own dad, because my dad was like showing me like recording gear that friends of mine who are musicians are like, that, do you still have that? That can pay off your parents' home or whatever. Like, all these things that I'm just like, fuck, like I just want this time machine to go and slap myself in the face. But at the same time, like, it's so natural. Like, I hacked my dad's computer basically, and found all of his journals. There was nothing embarrassing or bad, but because my mom was like, look, we have all these sermons, we have all of his old music, we have all these things. Like, I just want you to find a way to preserve it. And so I started to like listen to like all these sermons and stuff that he did.
That's so cool.
And it fucking warped me. And I started having really bad panic. Like, I travel a bunch, and I started having really bad panic attacks, and I didn't know how to calm myself down from these panic attacks. So I started downloading and like re-listening to like my dad's sermons on my phone to like try to calm myself down, and it worked. And then I was like, fuck, I can't wait to tell him. And so I go and I like try to tell him and he doesn't really get it or understand. And then I'm like, well, fuck, like, is he getting the gratitude? Like, am I, does it even matter? And it's just, yeah, I mean, that's the heavy stuff that like, I just go and look back. I'm like, I think everyone, what it sounds like you were saying, I'm not putting words in your mouth, is you just want to know, one, was your dad proud of you? And is the work that you're making him proud?
Yeah. I mean, also, you're really lucky that you have access to the archives, because I don't. I had the idea maybe 3 months ago, and I think it was during the show. I was like, oh shit, like I like got this idea that I was like, oh, like I checked all my emails, no emails, not a single email from my dad, which is really sad. And then I was like, oh, it must have gone to my college account. So I literally emailed my college and I was like, I really need access to my old account. And they like set me up with my old username and my password, and I had to like be on the phone for a couple hours. And I finally got in, only to see that there were no emails. So I called them back and I'm like, hey, all my emails are gone. And they're like, oh, like they were like, we moved to Gmail.
Oh,
and I
fuck.
think anything pre-Gmail was just deleted off the servers. So even though I found my login, I got my name, I got the password, I got access to the account, there was no fucking emails. And I was so sad. Because I mean, I have like home videos, I have photos, but I don't have any of the good stuff, which I have no voicemails, I have no texts, I have no emails, and there's not really any other records. And so I got to live with the memories, my man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, because I'm pissing and moaning that I don't really have anything that's that personal. And to be honest, the emails that I read from him were not great. They weren't really uplifting. He was calling me out on shit, because I was freaking out over money. I worked as I was like a PA for like Elijah Wood at one point, like just totally random. And I was like, yo, dad, like all I wanted to do was like get my parents nice shit to make them like feel better, because I didn't have a lot. And my dad was like, stop with this. Like cut this out. Like, we don't need this. No one cares about this. No one wants it. Like, what are you doing?
But
and so I read it.
Good lesson.
I guess. But I was like,
that's
fuck,
a good
like,
lesson.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
That shows who your dad was.
Yeah.
Which is a guy that doesn't give a shit about material objects and just wants you to like do what you want rather than like work for the family, even though you feel like you have to.
Yeah,
not
that
to
was
be your therapist.
No. I mean, that's pretty dead on what they say too. Because like my dad didn't give a shit about me being a pastor or doing or even believing in God or any of that stuff. He was just like, you should just have faith in something. I mean, that was his thing. He's like, you just need to care about something and let something else drive you, because you're going to be hedonistic enough that you're just going to get to the end of yourself. But yeah, I mean, shit, that I got to rewatch all of your shows now with that insight, because I don't think
you'll see it.
You don't lean too heavy on any of that. I don't even think you would call it out in any of the videos.
There's no room for a backstory in a TikTok show, and I do believe if the show ever goes to TV, which I hope it will, that there will be more room to explore that in a way that the audience can really see it. But I do feel like a lot of people see it. They don't necessarily connect it to fatherhood or like how to be a man, but they definitely like the life lessons are there. But it's just not so apparent,
Yeah. Is it on YouTube?
No, not really. I mean,
yeah, there's
this
clips.
Stuff is so hard, man. Like it's so much work.
Well, and this is the reason why I ask is, so I'm sure you have agents and all that other stuff. And one of my buddies is like my guy at WME, and he we were talking about doing this sort of show, and my like agent guy friend whatever was like, oh, you know what, like everybody's just focusing on TikTok and YouTube. Like even now, friends of mine who do press for TV series, for Netflix series, for all these things, they're like, yeah, I need to be doing podcasts and like TikToks with people, because the viewership is exponentially by an order of magnitude higher than anything. Dude, like James Corden does better on YouTube than he does on TV.
For sure. The whole paradigm has shifted, and it's great because the power is in the hands of the people, but the money is not when you talk about like these platforms. So it's like on one hand, you can gain some sense of power, but at the end of the day, if you're 36 and you want to make a career, it's really tough to do it still without kind of like the Hollywood backing. And I believe that eventually you can make money doing that stuff, and but it's a grind. You're in one man studio. It's like you got to learn how to edit, you got to learn how to produce, you got to pay people, you got to have equipment. Like it's just a lot. Like, I mean, you saw at the beginning of this podcast, I have 4 mics, all for different stuff. There was a couple wireless ones that I didn't even try.
Oh, there we go.
it's just a lot of work. But you know, for me, like it's funny because like I think about like being on the Food Network or something.
Hell yeah.
If Keep the Meter was on the Food Network. But here's my thing is like, would anyone recognize me on the streets? Would I have any power? Would like it make even a difference in the culture if the show was on Network? Like if I was, you know, right now I can go on the subway in Manhattan and have three people be like, oh my God, I love Keep the Meter running, right? Like literally it happens all the time. And
That's
every
awesome.
single time I'm like, I make the right decision. I'm like, TikTok is the way to go. If the show was on Food Network, if I had never done TikTok and had just pitched it directly to the Food Network, would it have had such a cultural impact? Probably not, especially in a place like New York or LA or whatever. Like I'm more interested in the Jim Jarmusch kind of success and fame, which is to say that like not a lot of people, but the right people, and also maintaining some kind of, you know, like privacy, for lack of better words. But it is, you know, I've been with other influencers or whatever you want to call them. I don't want to ever call myself that, but I've been with other internet personalities who, you know, because their content is more abrasive, their fans and their audience is more abrasive in real life. And,
Oh yeah.
and think that they have some sort of ownership over this person. I'm grateful that, you know, anyone that stops me is super respectful and just says like, I love your show, like amazing, keep it up, which is great, but they're not like accosting me. And I've been with people who have shows as big as mine or pages as big as mine who are like harassed in a way that like I'm sure the fans are being they don't know what they're doing, like in their heads. They don't know that it's rude. They don't know that it's like not acceptable to treat someone like this. You know, it's good intentions, I guess, but it's just ultimately it's really selfish of them to act like they have ownership over a person. But that's all that's to say, you know, when I do a TikTok episode and it gets 7 million views and, you know, 2 million likes and thousands of comments, that is more impactful than having a TV show on the Food Network that 15,000 people in Iowa watch, you know? So it's a sacrifice though, because I can't tell the full story, you know, the Kareem story, which is this fatherhood and this manhood and, you know, this way of life and understanding kind of like what I'm supposed to do. But ultimately, I think it'll get there.
I think it will. I mean, you did the Patreon. I'm sure that's going to be part of it.
Well, I did the Patreon and then I undid the Patreon.
Okay, that makes more sense. Because I was like, I was trying to find it because I was like, oh, I'm going to pull all these other notes, and I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, no, it's just like I'm, you know, like I said, many failures under my belt, and I'm also like just down to fail. So I was like, fuck it, I'm launching this thing. Another one of my friends was like, holy shit, you beat me. And I've been like, you know, his show has been long. Like, I'm just fast. I just do it. It's like, get it over with, rip the Band-Aid off. Nothing's going to be perfect. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And Patreon, well, I think is a great platform. It's like, I'm not in a position at the moment to produce any additional content. Like, no,
okay. So it wasn't like embarrassment. It was just like, I'm going to make myself more accountable for stuff that I'm unable to create.
Yeah. It's like, you know, people are paying their hard-earned money, even if it's $5 or $10 a month. It's like, I want to be able to deliver on what I promise and also not completely destroy myself in the process. And the show is already really hard to make, you know, because it's not like no shade on podcasts, but it's not a podcast. It's a fucking show that requires 2 cameras and production and money and editing. And it's just like a lot of work to even get those TikTok episodes out. So to do another bonus episode, even if it's once a month, it's like literally a full day of shooting and 4 days of editing. Like it's a lot. And so without like the right infrastructure in place and without the right kind of like full on strategy in place, I think it's just too hard for me to be able to manage. And then I've got all the other stuff going on. So I jumped the gun. That's exactly what I'll say about it is I jumped the gun. Okay. I was like, this is going to be easy. I launched it. And then 2 weeks in, I was like, holy shit. I like, oh, a bonus episode, a catch up episode, a blah, blah, blah. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't do this. I really can't. And so at the moment, my strategy has shifted to like trying one thing that I was really opposed to was doing anything with a brand. But now I've decided that like, I'll try to figure out some ways to like work with brands and it will feel natural and like won't take away from the show.
Yeah. Cause I'm sure there's a booze company or some sort of hospitality, food and beverage space, whatever, that you could, I mean, obviously you got enough great ideas, but like, I'm sure there's somebody who would love to underwrite all of that stuff with the viewership you're getting.
And for me, it's like, I actually personally, I'm not where I need to do this show for money yet. It's more about just covering the cost of making it, right? Like, I don't need this as a salary yet. Right now, it's just like, keep it going, because I have other jobs. I have other things that I get money from. So it's more about like having enough money to cover the production costs, having enough money to pay the people that work on the show, having enough money to pay the cab drivers, food, and all that. Like, so that I'm not losing money on every episode. I right now, I just want to break even.
That's
I'm sure
a rare achievement in itself.
Exactly. I'm sure eventually there will be a time where I'm like, need this to be profitable. Get the fun of it all.
So here's a funny story that'll make you feel a little bit better. A friend of mine got a deal for a show on a network that is similar to the network you were referring to. It's in that space. And he got the show and they were going to do it and the wheels were in motion. And there's a change in leadership and they say, hey, we want to launch this, but we want your digital presence to be larger. So we're going to put this on hold. Wow. And we're going to give you 6 months to grow your digital presence. And long story short, they were like, are you kidding me? This is basically, they were saying that like, your credibility isn't enough. The idea isn't good enough because we're worried about how it would live on social media. And
that's so awful.
They axed the show.
Wow, that's awful.
And so you have the other side. And so in a lot of ways, it's like, well, fuck, like who needs those networks? Because their MO is basically unless you're freaking, what is it? Hometown, which is a great show, by the way. Like there's it's not going to happen because you need to have this other like larger social reach, which you already have.
Thank God. I mean, I would have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Like sitting down in the meeting?
Yeah, I would be very upset. I mean, I've also thought like that is why I just keep investing my own money into the show, because I just don't think anything bad will come out of having more episodes, having more reach, having more viewership, having more influence, having more audience, having more stories to share. I don't think anything bad will come out of it. So I'm willing to lose money right now on doing it in order to kind of keep it moving. But I mean, that's also like, I sometimes wonder, like, if I were to have taken this show out before I even went to TikTok, would people have just been like, I don't understand how the idea is. Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, they don't seem that interesting. Like, I feel like, yes.
You feel like it. I feel like the format, everything, it's like this perfect marriage and timing and you name it, that it just is so great on the platform. Not saying that it doesn't deserve to be on other things. I'm just saying like your talent, the content you created, I don't think it would be as successful on a larger network because I don't think the leadership of the network would understand it.
That's what I'm saying. Like if I didn't have the case study, let's call it,
bingo,
of the internet, like would they have seen the vision? Would they have fucked with the vision? Like, I don't know if they would have fucked with the vision. I think they would have been like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, Maddie Matheson has mentioned that stuff tons of times where he's
really?
Like, he's just like, fuck it, I just did all this stuff myself. I mean, he's got a good team. I mean, he doesn't say that, he's all alone on this. But yeah, I mean, he's just like, you just got to go and do it on your own. And then like, fuck it. If it happens, it happens. And if not, you still have the stuff that you made, which you'd be proud
100%,
of.
which is exactly how I look at it. It's like, I'm having the time of my life. I'm telling the best stories in the world, and I'm working with my friends and everything's great. Like I'm like, if nothing else comes of this, I'll be a happy man.
So what are the other things that you're doing then? Stand up, podcasting, acting?
I'm doing a lot of things. I'm doing too many things. I just wrapped a feature film that we're in post on. Okay. It's my first feature. I wrote it. I co-wrote it with Mary Neely, who's another great actress, comedian. We shot it at the end of December. We're in post. And so that is an exciting project because I've only done shorts. So this will be the first time I do a feature. And again, another one of those, like, let's write a script that we can make where we don't have to talk to a studio, that we can finance from our networks, and that we can shoot in 6 days, which is insane. But when you don't have money, you got to do it in 6 days. And there are other ways to do it. There's a million ways to do everything. For me, it's about doing it. That is literally my motivation. And I have this like little phrase that the secret to doing things is doing them. And that's my own thing that I came up with. I don't know if it exists outside of my world, but everyone is always like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I'm like, just do it. Like, I guess Nike
Yeah, I was going to
Came up with
say
it
there's
first.
a company that leans on that pretty hard, but yeah.
Yeah, but it is true. It's like the secret to doing things is doing them. So like if you want to make a movie, figure out a way to fucking make a movie that, there was an era in New York where people were making movies because they wanted to. And I think all of a sudden it was like, I'm not going to, everyone decided that like they're not going to make a movie unless A24 finances it. They were just like, that's the only option. Like, if it's not an A24 movie, I don't want to make it. And I was like, look, of course, A24, amazing company. I think they make the best fucking movies. I'm in. If
Hmm.
A24 calls me, if you're listening, if you work at A24,
They
I
listen.
love you.
There's some
Call me,
A24 folks.
bring me. Yeah, I want A24. I want A24. What I don't want to do is wait around for A24.
Oh, bingo.
So hopefully I will work with A24 and I would be honored to work with A24. At the moment, they haven't called me. So what am I supposed to do? I got to make this movie. The movie's already written. The movie, like, everyone wants to make the movie. People are willing to work on the movie for like, discounted rates because they believe in the project. So what am I going to do? I'm going to raise the money and we're going to make the movie. And if it means we're making it in 6 days instead of 20, we're making it in 6 days. And guess what? It turned out great. And we got amazing talent in the film. And I think it's going to be some sort of hit. The premise is kind of like a newer version of like a Before Sunrise situation.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
Like a little New York walk and talk with two strangers that spend the day together in New York. It's not as romantic, I would say. It's a little darker. Oh yeah, it's not a comedy. It's my first time also doing kind of a drama. But it is an A24 film. Just don't have the A24, but I just don't have the A24 budget. But
well, a lot of those folks come in and distribute. They're not financing that stuff. They're coming in to put their name on it and then get it into a theater. And
I think that'll happen. I think it looks like a great movie, and it is a great movie. So I'm putting we're wrapping that up and hopefully it'll come out next year. And then I'm making music, which is a new thing.
that is the other thing I was going to talk with you about.
It's fun. I mean, it's really fun. I've
Yeah,
never
because
been in a
you're
band.
doing like I don't know if this word is pejorative, but I don't mean it that way. Like a variety show style thing. Like what is this thing? It's music and everything.
It's just two comedians and then two bands. And I was like, how do I blend these worlds? Like people, like my people that follow me are here for the comedy, and all of a sudden I'm like, come to my concert. So it's like, all right, I'll just have two comedians and they'll get some comedy and then they'll get my band. And I don't know if it's gonna work. I hope it does, but I've always wanted to be in a band. I've always wanted to make music, but I've never had the skills or the know-how. And I made like one song in October of, I think, 2021, and I was like, oh, this is so fun.
This is the TikTok song, right?
This one's about, it's a Halloween song. The first song I ever made was the Halloween song.
Okay.
And then I got really into it. It started as comedy music. It started as like funny songs, and now it has become, I guess, real songs. So it started as like Lonely Island, and then it slowly made its way to like something that's just like a little more tongue in cheek. So maybe like the Talking Heads or something, they're like kind of funny, or like they're talking about things that are kind of funny. And then now it's just like, I guess that's where I've remained, like good music, good musicians in the band, and less on the nose humor, but still kind of like conceptually humorous, right? So like I just released that song, Really Rich Parents, which is, it's a funny concept and it's obviously in the zeitgeist, but the song and the music is actually good. And that's what I realized is like when you make a comedy song, people are not necessarily, it's like a novelty. So no one's listening to it twice, right? Like I made a song called Hezbollah, which is about Hezbollah, the little guy. Yep. And are people going to listen to that like at a party? No. Are people going to listen to it more than once? No. It's like, it's almost like a waste of time, Whereas I realized that like music it has a long shelf life. And so I wanted to do something that had a longer shelf life, because it's like you put the same amount of effort into making a comedy song that you do a real song, and the comedy song goes into the algorithm and then it disappears and then there's no trace of it ever again. Yeah. Whereas the real song remains and it lives and it's a part of your portfolio of stuff.
Yeah. no, I mean I totally agree. I mean, Adam Pally was doing that with his like Adam Pally and Friends thing, and
Is that a
it was
band?
interesting. No, well, so no, Adam Pally, the comedian actor.
Yeah. I just thought he had a band or something.
No, kind of. So,
Okay.
because I did it with him at Bell House, and it was really interesting because it's like him playing music and playing real songs, covering them, but also it's not entirely the whole song. And then he has different comedians that'll come up and do stuff. But I remember when he was explaining it to me, I was like, I don't see how this is going to make sense. But, from people that went and like even experiencing it and being a part of it, I was like, oh shit, like I feel like this is how people want to consume comedy, music, and stuff, is like put it all together. And it also, there's a weird I don't know what it is because of TikTok and all these other things that are too polished, I think people question, and things that feel a little bit more raw, people are like way more into. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to see the seams. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I think about it. Is like it's like showing the seam.
Yeah.
Is and that's like, that goes back to your point about kind of like getting people to open up to me and keep the meter running. Is like, I'm like, dude, I'm flawed and damaged and all. Please help me. And being able to recognize that and just say it and like it's like, you're real, right? And the whole internet's aesthetic has went from being polished, being like, oh, look at me, I'm real. And I think that like in the art, I think that's also why like Bo Burnham's Inside was like a cultural kind of phenomena that I don't think, because of the constraints of the pandemic, they greenlit or bought or whatever. But in real life, I think had he been like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, maybe people would have been like, oh, it's not polished enough. But I think the audience, the appetite for realness is higher than ever before, because the whole fucking world is like running on fumes and lies. And so the more honest you can be, the I think the better result you'll have. And realizing that like just knowing how your imperfections, I think, can be to your benefit.
Yeah. Like I can't take credit for this quote, but someone was like fake reality people don't want, but people want real reality that is like eventless. Stuff that it's why. So I did a pod the other week, and I said how much I think the Ted Lasso show is not good. It's not for me. And people were kind of a little hot over it. Like, why would I shit on Ted Lasso? It like is a great show and all this. And I was like, because it's not real, and I'd much rather have something that's real and just eventless. Versus like, oh, this isn't real at all, but there's not really any, there's no character challenge in my head, and I'm sure someone else is going to come back and clap back at me over it, but it just, I don't know. I think that there's a way that we want to engage with the arts now that is way more empathetic than ever.
Mm-hmm. Well, I support your stance on Ted Lasso. Just so everyone knows.
Thank you.
You're not alone, buddy. You're not alone, brother.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. The other person on the pod, they were like, "Oh yeah, nope."
Yeah, I watched like one episode and I was like, "I'm out. This is not for me." That's also the best way to say that you don't like something. It's not for me. I love saying that.
Oh yeah, it's tough because it's really hard to get someone to explain themselves more or to pry at their comments if you're just saying like it doesn't fit. Like, it just doesn't fit for you. Like, because you didn't shit on it. You just said it's not for you, which is like, versus I kind of shit on it.
I won't shit on. I rarely shit on anything because everything's so hard.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
It takes time and money and energy and effort and writing and all sorts of stuff.
So hard. But I should say I'm having my first ever live performance with my band on April 17th at Baby's All Right in Brooklyn. Nimesh Patel is doing stand up. He's incredible. Joey Dardano, incredible. New band called Paris Spleen, which is sitcom. It's this guy Jacob Lazovic. I don't remember how to say his last name. Cool. I just call him Cool Jacob. But it's Cool Jacob's new band.
Okay.
And then my band. And it's really going to be an experiment because I've never performed live in my life.
Are you playing any instruments?
No, I don't play. I sing and I write the lyrics. And then I have a collaborator, Tyler McCauley, who I've known for like 10 years. And I always was like, oh, you're like a little James Murphy. And
okay.
He's plays every instrument, picks up any instrument, produces all the music, and put the band together. And he's just like so down. And he was the first person that I thought of when I was like, I really want to make a song. I've only made songs with him. And he was the first person that I hit up. and also the only person that I've currently been working with. So I think it's going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be a really fun night. I've only like our rehearsals that we do. I have so much fun. It's a completely different feeling than doing stand up, because when you're doing stand up, you're all alone on stage.
Yeah.
And that's a different feeling than being in a band. And it's really cool. Like, it's a really cool, even in the rehearsal space, I'm like, this is so fucking sick. Like, I don't know what this feeling is. And hopefully it, manifests that way in the show that we do. But yeah, come out. And,
where's it at?
See the music. Baby's All Right.
Oh,
17th.
Baby's All Right. That'll be sick. Yeah, I think this will be out by then. I'll have it out probably on the 17th.
Promotions.
Yeah, there you go.
Come tonight, everyone.
Come tonight.
Come tonight. In case it's out on the 17th.
That being said, like, as you start to work on other stuff like films, movies, like do you have any sort of underrated movies or films that you stand that people don't get?
I don't know if people don't get them, but like, I'd say that my favorites, kind of like the two favorites that always come to mind, are American Movie, which is that documentary. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Oh, yes. Many a times. Yeah.
So fucking good.
Coven,
dude. I need to finish Coven. I just
what's his face? We just lost him, right? Mike walked on.
R.I.P. Mike.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
For sure.
And Lahane.
What's that?
Have you ever seen the movie? It's like one of Vincent Cassel's first movies. It's like this French black and white film that is kind of about the same stuff that we're talking about today, with like racial inequity and police violence and police brutality, but it takes place in Paris, and it's so fucking good. And it's made me, I watched it and was like, I don't want to do comedy today. I was like, I want to make a drama. And that's what got me writing this new movie that me and Mary made, or something. That's what got me to be like, let's try something that's not comedy, is watching that film.
Do you feel like you're only able to grow as an artist when you're stretched? Because it sounds like you personally challenge yourself quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I like the failure, because then I go, it's not for me.
When did you like it though? Because that's not a normal thing.
I'm certainly not masochistic about it. Like, I don't actually like it, but I like moving on. Right. I like picking something up, saying it's not for me, or I don't like the taste of that, and then going, I won't have it again, but I know I don't like it. Like, it's like the kid that like needs to touch the stove, even though his parents say don't touch the stove. You know, like I'm touching the stove. Like, nobody can tell me that I won't like it. I have to experience it, and then either be not good enough and know that I'm never going to be good enough. For example, playing instruments. I've picked up so many instruments, it's just not going to happen, literally, and I know that now. It's just not going to happen. But can I still participate by writing the lyrics because I'm a writer? Yes. Turns out I can. So, we'll see what happens with the show and with the music in general. I like the music. Some people seem to like the music. I've gotten compliments about the music recently, which is a first. So we'll see what happens with the music. But yeah, for me, it's like, how can I know that I don't like something or I'm not good at something without trying it?
Yeah, because for other friends I know who are kind of in your field, I think some people, it's like, oh, I need like a divine focus where it's just this one thing. And you're really spread apart across all these different artistic formats, but I would say they really complement each other. I mean, your podcast is a whole other thing, which is great, Yeah. And versus that, the TikTok show, the music, and all these things, kind of stringing it together. Where it's like you're the Renaissance. I don't know. I wouldn't say comedian. Yeah. I guess that's probably not what you would want to be classified as.
I think I've moved towards like entertainer, presenter. I don't know anymore.
Oh, there you go.
I think I still go by, I don't know. Who knows? Let's figure it out later.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, like I want to fill the top of the funnel as much as possible and just see what comes out the little end, fill it up, and some stuff will come out of the bottom. And those are the things I'll keep doing. But like, I just had like a year of, I don't know, man. I was just really motivated obviously, I think 2021, all of those things came out. All of those things happened in the same year. Mm-hmm. This year, I don't think we'll be like that, right? Like, I haven't launched anything new this year. Like, I did.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you have. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Subway Takes.
Yeah.
Subway Takes.
Yeah, I was watching that earlier, which is like, I mean, it feels the same, but you definitely are finding some pretty random randos. The MetroCard lapel mic.
The MetroCard mic is a genius. That was my friend Willem. He thought of that, not me. But all those people are cast. Like, I'm not doing Man on the Street. Like, I asked people to be on the show, or they asked me to be on the show.
Okay, that's still good.
Yeah. No, I don't think it. I don't think it takes away from the show, but yeah, I guess I did launch that, and I completely forgot that, like, I did, I guess. So I don't know. Again, man.
Do you watch who is it? Like any of the Tim and Eric stuff? Like there's definitely like a bit of a Absolutely production vibe on some of these things.
Yeah, for sure. I love Absolutely. I think they're very cool.
Oh my God, yeah. It's the highest. I don't know. For me, when my wife and I were dating early on, she was obsessed with Tim and Eric and all of that and all the Adult Swim things. And I was like, I don't understand. It feels like it's purposely like bad, you know? And she was like, and I didn't get it until way later. And
that's so funny.
Yeah. And now I freaking love Tim Heideck. I think all those guys are geniuses, and all the Nathan Fielder stuff and everything that they've all done.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He might be the best.
Yeah.
He's one of the goats for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how much that dude's gonna like Andy Kaufman himself, or if he's really that real of an individual. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I feel like he is that.
Maybe. Yeah.
I feel like he is that.
Because that's the thing, right? And so someone like Nathan Fielder, there is the character, and there's nothing past that. At least that's been revealed yet, right? Mm-hmm. Nathan Fielder is the character, and he's like, the character is who I am. That is it. Finito. Versus you, on the other hand, now you're the whole person. You were the character digitally. But obviously, on this conversation, you explaining more about the grief, the journey, the search, and I feel like that's an easier person to latch onto, because I feel more connected to someone who's been in any form of darkness.
Yeah, no, for sure. I always think, I mean, to bring it back to Bourdain, it's like, I want to leave this world damaged and scarred and bruised and fucking beat up, and put my body and my mind and my heart through as much as it can possibly bear. And so that's kind of like my philosophy on it, man. Like I'm gonna use everything, and it's all in the service and interest of both personal growth as well as like just having people react and think, even if it is silly, right? Like with subway takes, some of those takes are so stupid, but at least it gets a conversation going. Yeah. And I love that it's stupid. Like the biggest video on there is me and my friend Anthony arguing about vertical video versus horizontal video. And this is an argument that me and him have all the time. And to put it on the internet and have them argue about it is even better, because I'm getting so many good points that are pro vertical, which is me. I'm like the pro vertical guy. And one of the arguments was people are vertical, so video should also be vertical. And I was like, that's a great fucking point that I've never had. But now in my argument,
people are vertical. That's
people
such
are vertical.
I didn't see that one. That's pretty funny.
Because there was another point that was like, well, eyes are horizontal. That's why video should be horizontal.
Yeah, I was going to say how we see. Yeah.
But people are vertical. And so it's just so funny, man. It's so entertaining. And that's what it is. It's like trying to mix all of these things together is like getting to the center of the truth, being entertaining, starting conversations, and having fun. Like number one priority of my life is fun. And I hope I can keep that up for as long as possible. But that was a shit as well. That was something that shifted until I realized that like that is how to be happy. For me at least, is to just have fun.
Yeah, I mean it sounds like a harmless hedonism. Pretty good.
It is. Yeah. I don't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Kareem, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was a pleasure, man. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's it for the show. You've been listening to Blammo. Our show is produced by Blammo Media. We're edited by Amar Lull, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. Hey, if you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us some, 5 stars on all the apps. It's like it's Uber, just 5 stars for everything. You can follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. And if you want to talk to us, give us your hot take, sound off. You can send me an email at info@blamopod.com. But more importantly, if you want to hang out with us, if you want that real community, you want the Rex, you want to know what shoes to wear with what, you want to wax poetic about some Rolling Stones album you think's underrated, you got to join the Blam fam. So you can visit us at patreon.com/Blammo, where there's a bunch of exclusive episodes. There's the Blammo Presents Derek Guy, you got the Triple J Show, and our amazing Slack community. Okay, folks, take care of each other. Winds of change. That's the vibe. All right? We'll see ya.